Hello everyone, and welcome to the third and final Hub World E3 predictions video. I'm your host, Matteo, and today I'm joined by...
Gino from the Hub World.
Gules from the Hub World.
And Riley.
And today, unlike our previous two prediction videos that we've done, we're not going to be focusing on a single company. We're going to be focusing on all third-party companies, the companies that don't have a stake in the hardware console business. With the exception of Sony. We're not going to be talking about Sony because they are not going to be part of E3 this year. But yeah, so this is like companies like Ubisoft, Sega, Activision, Square-Enix, Capcom, etc. Just a reminder, since this will be the last predictions video, we'll be focusing now on reaction videos. We will be doing live reactions for as many companies as we can possibly do. But for sure, we're probably going to do Microsoft, Nintendo, Square Enix, anything that's on the weekend, and Nintendo, basically. But and then also we'll be doing some breakdown videos and discussions about the shows that and giving our commentary about them after we've taken some time to reflect on what was shown. And then eventually we're going to return to our numbered podcast with episode 21. That's going to be a sort of like who wins E3 favorite announcements of the show type episode. So with that, please give us a like and subscribe. We're putting a lot of effort into the E3 coverage this year. It would mean a lot if you guys could like and subscribe, share our videos and our Spotify with friends and family, whoever. It would mean a lot. So, but enough about the plugs and whatever. Let's kick things off with a third party. Does anyone want to start with a particular company, or should I pick? Like, what do you guys want to do?
No, I think we should. You know what? Since Sega kind of already announced some of their stuff in the previous, like a few weeks ago, they showed off the new Sonic game and that Crush 40 concert kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. But yeah, so I think we're definitely going to see some of that new Sonic game, either somewhere along the lines, because like the Sega little Sonic anniversary thing that they showed was more just kind of like, I think, a tease as to like, hey, this new thing is coming out, get hyped. What was it, Sonic Flow or Sonic
game?
Rangers?
No name.
Yeah.
There's no name.
Okay.
People are calling it because, like, at the end of the
Yeah,
trailer,
those rune things kind of looked
things-
like Zap
yeah,
or whatever, right?
and it could be Rangers, but there's nothing formally announced. But
Yeah. That was the rumor that it was going to be Sonic Rangers, or at least that's what like a lot of message boards and supposed insiders.
Yeah.
I think
were
that was
saying.
actually. I thought that was data mined or something.
yeah, it was like
Sonic
data
Rangers.
mined off of like the coding of like the YouTube video or something like that. And also, like, there was another, like, there was a leak months ago saying the next game was Sonic Rangers, and then seeing that in this data mine, it kind of is used. That's used as like more evidence. So, but still, I will just call it the next Sonic game until we get a formal announcement. But yeah, I definitely could see like that being shown. Maybe Sega's got something else up their sleeve, just in terms of Sonic, because like I think there's more Sonic games to be announced because they were supposed to announce stuff last year and they didn't. Plus, there's stuff this year. Who knows? Maybe we get another Sonic Mania, like a Sonic spin-off game or something.
Really? You think there's more?
I think there could be more, yeah, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But the other thing that is at the back of my mind, just in terms of Sonic, is that Sega did say that they're going to be making more of these Sonic Connects or whatever the heck they're called. So maybe there is nothing from Sega in terms of Sonic,
Yeah.
because maybe they want to announce them in their own way. You know, Sega's a very big company. They have a lot of intellectual property. Like, they own Atlas. Sega honestly has got a wealth of classic IP because, like, you know, they used to be a console manufacturer and they've developed their own studios. There's a lot of dormant IP in Sega, like with Sega, like Knights.
Do we call them dormant or do we call them dead?
Well, that's the thing.
I would call them dead personally. I don't think they're dormant. I don't think there's any chance of like 90% of Sega's IP coming back. Personally,
I know, but these games were all like, or a lot of them were household names for the entirety of Sega's like time where they were making consoles. But like now, there's not much that's left. But you know, there's still like, I'm sure there's people that still want to see like Shinobi or Knights or things like.
Billy Hatcher.
I want Billy Hatcher.
I mean, I don't disagree with you that there's definitely some people who might want to see those things, but Sonic itself, like Sonic is their mascot, and even Sonic doesn't do well anymore. So I just can't see I can't see Sega being like, let's throw money into Knights when Knights not only has Knights not been relevant in like 15 years, but I'm sure Bale and Wonderworld has
Yep.
hurt that IP. I think anything. I think
Yeah.
releasing a Knights game now with the aesthetic it has after the travesty that was Bale and Wonderworld,
Yeah,
I don't think they
I
can
just use
sell
that as an
Knights
example.
anymore.
I don't think there'll be a new Knights game, but like one game I would
Yeah.
want that Sega to make would be, or not even a new game, just port Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. That's all I want. Or I want a new Sonic racing game that's like Sonic and Sega All Star Racing or Transformed. Team Sonic Racing is fine, but I think it was too much of a departure from the other two games.
Just drop the team from Team Sonic Racing, and then you're fine.
What about you guys? Anything from Sega that you would particularly want to see, or shall we move on?
I would like to see a remaster or a remake of Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2. Just give it some nice quality of life stuff because those games haven't aged
Yep.
particularly well. They used to be like some of my favorite games ever until Matteo, actually you replayed them, and I saw
Yeah.
you struggling through that. And we had such fond memories of those games, right? And it's a real shame to see kind of like what's happened with them. It'd be nice to get a proper remaster or
But the
rework.
question is, were they ever really good, or
Oh yeah,
I think at one point they could have been considered good and groundbreaking. It's similar to Mario 64. Actually, not
Well,
to the
especially-
same. Mario 64 hasn't aged well in our recent playthroughs of it. Like we've all have this opinion, but it hasn't
I don't.
aged as badly as Sonic Adventures aged, because like I think half of the reason why Sonic Adventure has aged is honestly it's it's not the voice acting, but it's the voice matching.
The lip
Characters'
flap.
mouths move and it's not synchronized, and like
Well, that's just in the English audio because it's synchronized to the Japanese, right?
yeah, I know, but like that to me was like one of the main things. I'm like it takes you out of it. But yeah, I like Sonic Adventure would be amazing to be completely remade from the ground up.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least some hint at a future for Persona, because Persona 5 did come out, like the vanilla original version of Persona 5 did come out in 2015, I want to say. So Persona 6 should be on the horizon, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little teaser or a little just like, hey, it's in development sort of thing, as well as maybe all those rumors of Persona 5 coming to either Switch or Xbox coming to fruition would also be a nice little thing. But yeah, I think there could be some Atlas stuff, but not necessarily
Now,
too much more Sonic stuff, other than maybe a full unveil
yeah,
of
that
the
was
Sonic
one
Rangers
prediction
game.
that I actually had written down for our Nintendo discussion. I did say SMT 5, and I think that got a release date. I think that sorry, not a release date, a release year. I think that is supposed to come out this year, pending a delay. So I think yeah, for sure we'll get Shin Megami Tensei 5 at Nintendo's event. If that's it for Sega, does anyone have another company they want to go to, or should I just go to the next one down on my list?
Sure, go to the next one on your list.
So I have next here.
Yeah, go for it.
Actually, we got. I figure we have two big ones to talk about. I might save those. So let's go to Activision next. Activision, obviously, there'll be another Call of Duty and release date and all that. But like, what about Activision's other intellectual property? Like, do you think do you think we'll get anything else from them? Like, at another show, or is there something you would want to see from Activision?
Like, I don't think we're gonna get much Blizzard stuff, if at any Blizzard stuff, because I think Overwatch has already had their like own announcement.
Yeah, like BlizzCon was a few months ago, so
Yeah, so I can't see much in terms of that, and it does seem like Activision is like, as much as I want Spyro 4 and as much as Crash 4 had a lot of Easter eggs that may have hinted at Spyro 4, I genuinely believe that Activision's moved on from Crash and Spyro. I think they're done.
Yeah, because didn't the
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot team get like moved to another project or something like that recently? There was like a big commotion online about that. The team got moved over to do like Call of Duty maps or something like that, and people are not happy about it. But I honestly was under the impression that those games were like successful, obviously successful, like critically and with fans, but commercially as well. Like I thought those games sold a lot. But Activision probably has like these insanely high standards for like what they deem to be a success, and like they're willing to kill two beloved mascots from like two beloved characters and franchises. Like they don't care. Like come on, Activision.
That's the thing
Yeah.
is Activision has always been very much money fueled, and the thing is like you're right, like Crash 4 and Insane Trilogy both did really well, but they did well for
Yeah.
Crash. They didn't do well for like that's the thing is if Activision in their head they're like, well, Toys for Bob can make a Crash game and sell 4 million copies, and yeah, sure, that's good, but if we put them on a Call of Duty game and they make 10 or they sell 10 million copies, that's better.
Well, look what happened with Tony Hawk, right? We might maybe get like something out of there because that was a huge success for them. Maybe they'll do some like
Was it?
DLC or something. Yeah,
How much
Tony
did
Hawk
it
Pro
sell?
Skater. I thought it did pretty well. A lot of people were ranting and raving.
Yeah, no, it did well. It was like I think it was like Crash. I think it was like one of those ones that like it did well, but like it's not comparable to
Yeah.
like Call of Duty numbers. I feel like the thing is Activision, they should be aware of the fact that if they put all their studios on Call of Duty and there's way more Call of Duty games, there might be fatigue. But at the same time, if Call of Duty hasn't had fatigue by now,
Yeah.
like maybe it never will. Maybe there's always going to be just a bunch of casuals who buy Call of Duty and thus destroy Tony Hawk and Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
That's actually a good segue to what I'm going to say, because I think I was going to transition to EA and like talking about how like casual audience for sports games and Call of Duty and stuff is so massive that even if a quarter of that audience were drop off the face of the earth and stop buying games, they would still sell an insane amount of copies of each game.
Oh yeah, there's no question about that.
They're having an EA Play, I think it's in July at some time. So they're not officially part of E3, and they're going to have their own show then, and they're going to show their own games. But they could also have stuff to debut in other people's conferences. And EA has an insane amount of intellectual property that they can show. And they have teased stuff before at the Game Awards and at other events. What do you guys think? Like, do you think EA, first of all, will have anything? Like, do you think they'll show anything during the show, like E3
Yes.
itself?
I thought it's already been confirmed that they're going to be showing off Battlefield at E3, but it could be sooner.
Yeah,
Could be mistaken about that.
I think Battlefield might be a little before, but yeah, but I'm sure it'll be there too.
I know Battlefield 4 is what most people consider to be the last good Battlefield. I think Battlefield 1 had its moments, but definitely you could see the Call of Duty influences on Battlefield 5. And if they keep
yeah.
sliding further into that, I don't think their fans would appreciate it all that much.
Do you think we're gonna see any like Star Wars stuff from them? Like maybe a Fallen Order 2? I know they lost the Star Wars license and stuff, right?
There's
But
less exclusivity to the Star Wars license. They didn't necessarily lose the license.
Yeah, and they did say that they want to make Jedi Fallen Order or Fallen Order, whatever they're going to call it, its own series. And Respawn is such a talented
Mhm.
team. I still like I stand by Respawn. They have never made a bad game in the history of the company. They've only had 4 games, but Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and Jedi Fallen Order are all fantastic games. I don't play Apex Legends anymore, but like yeah,
that game's
it's
tight.
really solid. That is my preferred like battle royale game or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I can definitely see like once again like I don't think a lot of major games are going to be at E3. I think they're going to be at EA Play, but like we can still predict for EA Play because like it's still part of like the whole like Summer Games Fest. I think we'll see Jedi Fallen Order sequel for sure, just because it's been teased. I think it's about time.
I do
I
too.
won't come out this year. It'll probably come out next year, but yeah, like and they've released the enhancement patch for Jedi Fallen Order and it actually runs really well. I tested it recently. That game is fantastic. And then also I could even see EA because they teased this is a big one, but they teased Mass Effect, right? The future of Mass Effect at the Game Awards, I want to say it was.
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
that's Because but the thing is, there's a new Dragon Age BioWare is making too, right?
That's gonna be coming out before Mass Effect. I'm pretty sure they said.
Yeah. Most likely, realistically, and like this is what BioWare always does, is like they might show Dragon Age. I don't think they'll show anything about Mass Effect 4. I think that's on November 7th and 7-day drop. That's usually how they function when it's early in development. So I can't see there being more to the like, because that announcement trailer was like, it's so early. Like it's not. I doubt they even have gameplay.
I'm trying to just quickly think about
So
other EA properties.
sports games are gonna get announced.
But
Yeah, for
just
sure.
quickly, I know I'm a fan of the least popular EA Sports franchise, NHL. NHL has not had a major like update in years. In a way, they're still at like the Xbox 360, like late 360 level or PS3 level of like in their engine, like their menus and quality of life stuff. They haven't taken the next step forward in NHL. I hope they do that because like it's kind of getting a little stale, but I still an idiot and buy the roster updates basically.
You mean playing the same game for basically 10
Yeah.
years doesn't get
I'm
stale
just
by
so
itself?
attached to the NHL players and the teams and stuff, and I just want to, like, I'm gonna buy the next game because that's like the Seattle Kraken are gonna be in it, so like I kind of have to now. But anyways, I'm gonna scratch EA off now if no one else has anything to say. And now to a company that I actually have a prediction for, 2K. 2K is a very big company. They're probably the biggest company out of all of these that we're gonna be mentioning today. But
Yeah.
I'm going to start it off with saying and I actually believe this. I've heard rumors elsewhere, but it's about time. It feels like the right time. And after playing through the entire series, I want to say it was 2 years ago, I'm actually excited for this to be a possibility now. But I think there will be a new BioShock game shown off. I don't know where it would be
Oh
shown.
gosh, please.
Hopefully Microsoft, because then it could be on Game Pass maybe. But I fully expect there to be a BioShock game. But with BioShock, I would definitely want it to go back to Rapture. I liked BioShock Infinite. I don't know where the community really stands with like how they like rank the BioShock games, but I just found BioShock Infinite didn't feel like a BioShock game in a lot of ways to me. Like I played them in order. I liked the gameplay of Infinite, but just the setting and the mood, the atmosphere of that game just did not feel right. For like yeah, so like I would definitely want them to return back to the roots, the series roots in that regard.
Yeah, I would definitely love to either go to like Rapture or kind of like more of that.
I think that they should go to a different. Like, I would be pissed if they went back to Rapture. Personally, I think the story there has already been told. And I don't want them to touch it anymore.
Especially with Burial at Sea.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like the other thing too is that what Infinite kind of establishes is this idea of a lot of variety within the worlds. I feel like if they go back to Rapture, the problem is then Infinite will feel even more out of place.
Yeah.
And so I agree that they should go back to its roots by mixing action and horror elements, but I don't think it should be in Rapture. I don't think it should be in an undersea setting. I think they need to find a new setting, but I do think they should bring back more of a psychological thriller / horror context to the game.
Hey, Moonbase. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, praise
Anyway.
for that though. What I always thought is, given that well, what was it? BioShock 1 and 2 follow that Art Deco kind of style of aesthetic, and Infinite has steampunk. I was kind of thinking it'd be cool if they did sort of either like a neon or like a neon cyberpunk sort of thing, that kind of setting.
All I care about really, like even if they don't go back to Rapture, I just want there to be the environment that you play in to be kind of dark and ominous, but still be bright.
I mean, Columbia
I know,
was
but like I'm
dark and
talking like
ominous
physically, like
in a different way,
I get that, but I
philosophically.
just want like the actual environment to be like that too, because that's another layer that they can add onto the psychological thriller and part of the game. I feel like that adds so much to the experience, just the environment.
I mean, I'd agree with that. Some people would argue that Rapture is the star of the show of BioShock.
Yeah, and like actually, I didn't even think about the moon,
Yeah.
Gino. No, space is very dark.
Isn't there also a System Shock remake somewhere in development?
System Shock remake and a sequel, both of them.
Mhm.
So those already kind of dealt with, space station sort of setting.
Jules, did
Yeah.
you want to actually talk about the rumor
Yeah.
that you told me about earlier today?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yep, absolutely. So there's also a rumor. Yeah, there's a rumor that that the team that makes XCOM is making a game that plays like XCOM, but it's a Marvel game. So it'd be like a Marvel tactical RPG. Now I don't know what that would look like, but I like the sounds of it, and it's a rumor I read, and not really a
Yeah,
prediction since we didn't
that's something
come
we
up
could
with it,
expect.
but yeah, something that could be cool.
I appreciate the XCOM series. It's just something I would never like. It's not like my cup of tea. I like tactical RPGs. It's just like XCOM for me. It's more of like a I don't know, just the setting of the game, like the vibe. Like I would prefer I like tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem and stuff. Like it's just now if you put like superheroes in that, it's just more appealing to me. I'd be 100% down for that, and that would probably be the best Marvel game that could be shown at E3.
Honestly, like a new GTA game is
Yeah, I was also
desperately needed at this
that.
point. GTA 5 came out at the end of, was it the end of 360?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beginning
2013.
of like
Late
360 PS3, beginning of Xbox One PS4, and they've kind of like ridden it hard. And like, even though I
That's
don't
interesting.
play GTA Online, and I know that's kind of like the next extension of it, but we need a new numbered installment of GTA. I would like to see us go back to Vice City, personally.
Yeah, that's been the prevailing rumor, was a Vice City based one, which I would very
And
much like, because Vice City is still to this day my favorite GTA.
Can we hold off on GTA though?
Yeah.
Can it come out in a few years so that it doesn't take Game of the Year away from
Yeah,
Zelda and
I
like?
I don't see. I honestly
I mean, I don't mind if
I can't
GTA beats
see
Zelda, but
GTA or like whatever Rockstar's next game. I can't see it coming out this year. I can't see it coming out next year. Honestly, like
oh, absolutely not.
it's
Yeah, it's not coming out,
and
but
now
having
yeah.
an
So Jules,
announcement
I
would be
would not
nice.
worry about having it like compete with Zelda because I don't think it would even. There's no way that the timeline just doesn't seem to work with that game right now. Like in the next few years, yeah. Like it's Rockstar is like a one game per generation type studio now, which is really weird.
That's always
Well,
how
look
they've
at
been,
the
hasn't it?
PS2 and Xbox era. Like they put a lot. There was a lot of games they put out that generation. Even the next generation, like it's just been progressively less and less.
They put out 3 games during 360 era.
but the releases have gotten like bigger and more grand, right?
Red Dead 2 had like one of the biggest launches of any game, and so did GTA 5. So I mean, they've deserved that the right, and like people will wait for their games. I think now we should go. If no one else has anything to add to 2K, we should go tick off now one of the big, or what I foresee to be one of the big third parties, and that is Square Enix.
So I'm going to interject right now as we go into the segue, and I'm going to say right away, we're not talking about Avengers game. I know that there was. I know through your segue you were going to segue this into, oh, Avengers is so bad, and I agree, Avengers bad. We're not focusing on that. What we are focusing
Should we
on,
focus on Bale and
which is a
Wonderworld?
good segue, what we are going to focus on, which is a good segue, is that the Deus Ex team has had. I don't know if it's been officially announced or rumored or reported or whatever, but for a few years now, we've known that they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and I want to see that game this year.
Like a third person like action adventure type game.
We know nothing about this Guardians game.
That was rumored
Um,
at the round. Oh, I don't. I have to talk about Avengers, Jules. I'm sorry, but that was rumored around the same time Avengers was initially rumored, right? Because like I have some memory where I can like associate those two games together at some point. I could be wrong.
so it was reported around the time when Crystal Dynamics. It was announced that they were making Avengers, and it was announced that Marvel had signed a deal to make multiple Marvel games with
Mhm.
Square. One of the things that came out very quickly was that there was a Guardians of the Galaxy game in development. And I'm trying to remember the name of the team that
Eidos.
does Deus Ex. Ion Storm.
I think it could be. I think it's
Eidos?
Eidos Montreal or something like that.
Yes, yes, that's the one. Eidos Montreal. Yes, that's the one. Eidos Montreal. So and now it's like those rumors are getting heavy again that game
Mhm.
might get shown this year. So I would be very excited to see a Guardians of the Galaxy game.
And Square Enix this year will have a presentation. Square Enix's presentation will actually follow Microsoft and Bethesda's. Their presentation will be on Sunday, June 13th, 12:15 p.m. it says here. We might do a reaction for that, who knows, because that is actually a big game now that I would be legitimately excited for, because like for me, I'm kind of like the guy that doesn't really play a lot of Square Enix like RPGs and stuff like that. So that would be something that would resonate with me. Intellectual property that I care about the most that Square Enix has is Tomb Raider. But unfortunately, because Crystal Dynamics is tied up in the game that I shall not mention, there's probably not going to be a Tomb Raider game announced like anytime soon. I don't think.
Well, Eidos could do it.
Yeah,
after this specific
Eidos was the
project,
original
right?
developer of Tomb Raider, but still, like I just can't see it happening because like Shadow of the Tomb Raider didn't really push the needle for a lot of people. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as good as the other two Tomb Raider games in the Tomb Raider remake trilogy, but it was still good. Like it, it's Tomb Raider is always good. But now I'm gonna pass it off to you guys because I assume you have way more stuff to talk about Square than I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm after playing Dragon Quest for the first time. Jules let me Dragon Quest 11 Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch. I played through that game, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can definitely say that I'm excited to play a new Dragon Quest game. And I
Yeah.
hope something would be announced this year.
Well, it already got announced
Oh,
2
12
weeks
was
ago.
announced? Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Okay, I've been under a
Yeah,
rock.
didn't you see? Yeah, no, the
No,
same day as the
I've gone dark for a lot of things.
Oh,
Besides like
yeah,
from
so
like what
this
you guys have told me. So like that's me like
well,
legitimately
here,
finding
I'll
out
bring it
about
up
this.
here. Here, I'll bring it up here. A couple weeks ago, when the Sega, the same day as the Sonic announcement, Dragon Quest, because it is a Dragon Quest anniversary year, they had their own presentation. They showed off Dragon Quest 12's logo and name. They didn't give a date, they didn't give any systems, but they made it sound like it's going to get overhauled and it's going to be the darkest one of the series, and they're going to change up the look and stuff. So it looks like it's going to be like an edgy kind of Dragon Quest, but they also announced a Dragon Quest 3 remake. Dragon Quest 3 being the one that features Erdrick, it's the most famous one. A remake in like the HD 2D style of Octopath Traveler.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, they
Yeah, and
showed
I feel
gameplay
like
of it. It
out
looks
of
really
like of
cool.
either of those Dragon Quest games, that's probably the one we'll see. And like
Yeah,
who
that
knows,
one
like
we'll see
that
soon.
could be they could even give a date for that potentially because it looked very impressive. I was
Yeah,
very impressed with that. Oh,
yeah.
here's actually a very good segue. Speaking of HD2D games, when we didn't talk about it during our Nintendo predictions, but Triangle Strategy or whatever the heck it's called, Project Triangle Strategy.
Just give us a new name. I just want a new name.
Watch it. Hey, they just dropped the project with Project Octopath Traveler.
Octopath Traveler at least sounded somewhat compelling. Triangle Strategy is like it's so bad. Like
That's really dumb.
it's awful. Like
It would
it's
not.
not a good name.
I
It
agree
sounds
with
like
you.
something like a
Completely agree with you, but I would
preschooler
not
come
be
up with.
surprised if they kept it.
No,
Oh,
please
neither would
don't. No, there was a negative reaction to Triangle Strategy. I think people won't. I don't think they'll keep it.
Yeah.
I think they'll change
So
it.
yeah, and I think that'll probably get shown at both Square Enix event and the Nintendo Direct. But yeah, what about Final Fantasy? I heard that there was a Final Fantasy like not Final
16.
Fantasy 16, but like there's like a side project or something that is rumored.
Yeah. So there is most likely I'm willing to predict that Final Fantasy VII Remake is not getting anything. Like Intergrade comes out this Friday. I can't see them showing anything to do with Final Fantasy VII Remake sequel at the conference, although I will
They could
happily
tease
be
it.
wrong. I will happily be wrong, but the reason is because I envision that announcement coming next year, because I still envision it probably won't come till 2023 at the earliest. But that being said, there, like, other than Final Fantasy 16, the rumored project is a game called Final Fantasy Origins, and it's supposed to essentially be a Dark Souls like game set in the Final Fantasy One universe. Yeah. So I would be very excited for that. I did read that it's aiming to be more casual than a Souls game, which I envision to be something like Fallen Order, where it's a little bit more forgiving. But what would be different, in my opinion, from Fallen Order, because one of the big complaint, me and Riley were, because Riley has been playing Demon Souls, and I've been watching him, and one of his big complaints about Fallen Order, when we were talking about Fallen Order, was the lack of substantial boss battles.
Yep.
And I can see this game, Final Fantasy Origins, while it will likely be more casual, just like Fallen Order was, I can see it having the same amount like of bosses that's typical of a Souls game, because there's so many. Like, can you imagine like fighting like Bahamut and like Behemoth?
Also, to Fallen Order's credit, Grandmaster wasn't all that casual.
Yeah, but no, but I mean the game itself is casual. I'm not saying that
Okay.
every aspect of it is casual. I'm saying the game itself is a casual take on
Okay, fair enough.
Dark Souls, right? Like, on the whole, sure, there's a hard mode, but if you have the option for an easy mode, it's a casual game. But I personally don't think Garland will be in it, because I don't think it'll like, my personal prediction about it is I don't think it'll follow the storyline of Final Fantasy One. I think they're just setting it in Final Fantasy One's world, and it'll probably be its own thing. But I could see Chaos showing up, which is like, he's connected to Garland, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he Garland?
He is Garland. He is and he isn't.
Yeah, there's
But
some
I
kind
could
of
see
like time
Chaos
travel
showing
thing
up.
happening in that game, if I remember correctly.
Good
Yeah,
old
but I
Final
could,
Fantasy.
yeah, but I could see something like that, and like, just like it being very monster focused, and like, I think it could be really cool. And then the other Final Fantasy game, of course, that will likely get something shown is Final Fantasy 16, because when Final Fantasy 16 was unveiled, it did sound like it was pretty far into development, and there's a chance that game comes out this year. If not this year, for sure next year. So I can see there being something about Final Fantasy 16
Yeah, and
um,
like
at the conference as
I
well.
feel that, or like especially with Final Fantasy VII remake, like Part 2 or Final Fantasy 16, like even though Sony isn't gonna be part of E3, they're probably gonna have an event at some point this year, like a bigger like state of play, or like a similar showcase like they had last year when they unveiled like all those PS5 games. For sure, those games, like at least Final Fantasy 16, I think would be, if not in Square's conference, it would be in that conference. And even Final Fantasy 7 remake, maybe it's too early to show now, but in a few months, maybe like Sony is gonna be the ones to debut that game, because like they were the ones that
Yeah.
like re-announced Final Fantasy 7 remake after that super long like stretch of time, or that passed, that like between its initial reveal and the PlayStation reveal. So maybe like they have some sort of agreement that they'll show Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2 there.
Did the Yuffie DLC come out already? Or is that
So it's
still
not
ongoing?
DLC. So that's Intergrade. That's coming out Friday, and it's not DLC. It's only on PS5. Um, so that's coming out Friday, and that's why I think, like, there's no way Final Fantasy VII Remake sequel is getting shown this year. Like, I genuinely believe it will not be shown at E3. I personally don't even think it will be shown this year. I think it's way too early, and it's the kind of game that we know it's coming, so they don't really
Yeah.
need to announce it 3 years before it comes out. Like, we know it's
Yeah.
coming, so I just, like, we know, this is what we know from Square right now. They're working on Final Fantasy 16 right now. We know Final Fantasy 7 remake is coming some point in the future, and we know for a fact, this is a fact, unless they've changed plans since it was said, but Nomura basically said next year's Kingdom Hearts anniversary. I believe it's the 20th anniversary next year. And he said, expect a major Kingdom Hearts announcement for its anniversary year. So there's not going to be a game next year, but there's going to be an announcement. So most likely, whatever the sequel to Kingdom Hearts 3, whether it be Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever they're going to call it, the next major Kingdom Hearts game is probably going to get announced next year. So I can see the focus being like this year, the focus is Final Fantasy 16. Next year, the focus is Kingdom Hearts, and the following year, the focus is Final Fantasy 7 remake sequel. That's the way I can envision it happening.
And that would give them enough time to like figure out the PlayStation 5 and what it can do. Honestly, the later that game comes out in this generation, just the better quality it'll be.
Yeah, Jules,
Yeah,
I was going to
exactly.
actually ask you about Kingdom Hearts, but I guess that kind of answers that. But
Yep.
I mean, there might be a minor announcement, but it does sound like after Melody of Memory, Nomura did suggest like there's not really much left. But speaking of Kingdom Hearts, we should at some point have a Kingdom Hearts episode because just to let y'all know, Kingdom Hearts Key finally ended, and the ending was even more Kingdom Hearts than anything Kingdom Hearts I've ever read.
Well,
And
how
I will
much
share
heart
that with
bullshit
you.
are we talking here? On a scale of 1 to 10.
This is supreme heart bullshit. Like this is beyond heart. Like I will.
This is
I'll
the
let you
biggest
guys
heart
finish.
bullshit we've ever seen.
I can't wait.
This is quite heart bullshit. But I
Wait, is
will.
this what you were talking about yesterday while we were playing Demon Souls?
This was what I was talking about
And
yesterday.
I think I had an
I
aneurysm
cannot
just
wait for you to
partially listening
explain
to
that to me.
Oh, we got to bring I think we need to explain that to someone who's never like Matteo, you at least know like a morsel of like the Kingdom Hearts bullshit that happens, right? We've been talking about this. I think Robin, if you're listening, you're coming into that one. We're bringing you in.
Yeah, I'm bringing you in.
If you're listening to this, you're bringing it in. This is your formal invitation. Sorry,
Maybe
not
Adriano
invitation.
as
We are
well.
for. I don't want to confuse Adriano. I wouldn't do that to him. Robin, on the other hand, different story. We can confuse Robin.
So the one that I'm actually looking forward to, I recently I know I'm really behind on this train, but I recently started playing the Hitman games, and I'm so impressed by what IO's done. When I hear about that rumor that they're making a James Bond game,
Oh,
I
I
get
completely
very, very
forgot about
excited
that,
for
even though we talked about it the other day. Oh god, that is hype.
Yeah, I really hope that.
Mhm.
Yeah, if that's true,
I think
it is true, right?
yeah,
It's
I
been
think so.
confirmed they are working on one. Okay,
Mhm.
then I would love to see some of that because I hadn't played a Hitman game since Blood Money back during PS2 3 original Xbox era, and having started playing the first of the IO's take on it, they're fantastic games, and I
Mhm.
can't wait to see more from
Yeah.
that studio. Especially like I think they could do so much with that Bond
Yeah,
license.
there
That would
hasn't
be really
A
cool.
license to
there
kill,
hasn't
if you
really
will.
been a really good James Bond game in a long time.
What was it? From Russia with Love was the last good
I
Bond
think I
game.
would agree with you on that. But yeah, so if that's it for Square, let's move on to. I don't see there being much announced here, but like we can talk about if you guys want. But company that's actually recently pulled out of E3, even though they were originally announced with a the slew of other companies. But Konami, do you guys realistically see anything being announced by Konami?
Metal Gear.
No, I don't see anything being announced, but I will share an amazing idea that Riley came up with yesterday, or he came up with it before, but like we were talking about yesterday, which is they got to make a Castlevania game that's like a Souls game.
Oh,
Mhm.
that would be sick. That
I
would be
agree. That actually would
sick.
be amazing.
Or they're just going to announce that Microsoft
I
bought
think
them.
honestly, I think so many games could benefit from a Souls game, but or so many series could do well with the Souls formula.
Yeah, like a modern. Yeah, I agree. They could even make it a hybrid. Like you haven't played Darksiders 3, Riley, but Darksiders 3 is almost like a nice little hybrid between like a 3D Metroidvania and a Souls. Like there's a little bit of puzzle platforming, kind of um
I think
like
I have
dungeon
it
item
in.
kind of thing. But the
It's not
core
insanely
gameplay,
difficult.
yeah, but the core gameplay is very much so like Souls like, and that could work well for
Yeah.
Castlevania for sure.
So do you recommend it? Because I'm gonna be honest, I like 2, but I was kind of turned off by how much loot there was because I don't really like
You'll like 3
managing
because
inventory
it's
all
like
the
a
time.
Souls game, but just be aware
Yeah.
it's like a budget
Oh.
Souls game. But you'll like it. I actually I would argue that 3 is arguably the best one. 3 is actually really good.
I
Okay.
thoroughly enjoyed 3. Even
You know
though
what?
2 was more like, so 1 was like Zelda, 2 was like Skyrim,
I don't
3
know if
was
2
like
was like
Dark Souls.
Skyrim. 2 felt like
It was
honest,
more of a loot based one, right? And it was a
yeah, it
giant.
felt
know
more
what?
like a Diablo, like a Diablo, but made into
I
with
I feel like
combat.
we're
Sorry.
done talking about Konami. Why don't we just segue this into THQ Nordic?
Hey,
Exactly.
hey,
Darksiders 4.
hey, I know it's not going to
Darksiders
happen,
4.
but I still have that wish for that Konami does the MGS1 remake in the Fox engine. It's the dream.
I mean, that
I
would be
wouldn't
cool.
want Konami to do without Kojima personally, but THQ Nordic,
Hey.
we got Darksiders Genesis. We need that Darksiders 4. We
was
still
a
need to
Yu-Gi-Oh!
finish
tradition.
Darksiders Genesis, but
You
I
got to like what, level 3?
something like that. But at least, okay, so they finished. Now they've done one with all 4 horsemen. So why don't they finally release the game that you play as all of them? That's what I
I don't
want.
know.
I still have dibs on Death when that comes out.
You don't even like Death's game.
No, I said I really liked Death's game. I didn't like how much loot there was.
Yeah, there was a lot of loot.
There was.
Well,
And you must collect all of it.
I'm dibs on. I'm going
What else did
Strife.
THQ Nordic do?
They don't have much else. They have like Destroy All Humans and like
Yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants, Battle for Bikini Bottom. They made that
Hey,
already.
SpongeBob.
They need to do the
Eh.
SpongeBob movie game.
Yeah, I do want SpongeBob the movie game rehydrated.
Yeah. That's a shout out for Sarah.
Yeah.
I know she mentioned that, I think.
So, Bandai Namco is the next one I got here. Bandai Namco obviously owns Riley's favorite developer, From Software. Or
I don't know if they're
yeah,
my favorite, but they're
and they
close.
also, just quickly, because I feel like these would probably be throwaway ones that are like obviously going to be there that probably no one will talk about. Two small little pieces here before I think we'll talk about the big topic with Bandai Namco. Scarlet Nexus, which was debuted by Microsoft in, want to say, one of their Xbox Series X showcases or something like that, but it was debuted on using Xbox hardware. That'll probably be shown in the Microsoft conference, I would think, and probably they haven't announced it yet, but I think that'll be like a day one Game Pass type game. And then also Tales of Arise. But no, that Tales of Arise will probably get shown at some point. But like,
It'll get shown, but screw that game.
Why?
I was so hyped for that game. Like I've been hyped because I've been playing the Tales games. I was so excited because my roommate and I have been playing through them. And then they dropped the bomb that this will be the first Tales game to not have multiplayer. It's purely single player, and I've lost all interest in that game. I'm like, I understand the reasoning behind it. Like they gave a good reason, but I still just.
well, anyways,
So,
Riley, I will let you take the reins for the next topic here. For I would think your most anticipated
So-
game, or one of them at least.
yeah, other than Halo Infinite,
Mhm.
my most anticipated game of the year, or probably not this year since we don't fucking know if it's. I think we all know it's still coming at some point, but no one knows when. But Elden Ring, I really want to be shown,
Mhm.
like desperately, like many other Souls fans. They like it's. There's been a bit of a drought of news about that for a while now.
You know
it was
what, Riley?
announced.
In true George R.R. Martin fashion, he's gonna make you wait for it for a really
I don't know
long
about
time.
that.
It's true.
He's got to finish writing the dang book.
No, I think I'd rather him work on Elden Ring than the books at this point. I can wait for Winter for more years than I
Well,
can wait for
let me put it this
Elden
way,
Ring at
guys.
this
I'm
point.
not going to tell you where or when, but I think you're going to be seeing Elden Ring this year. So keep your eyes peeled. I'm not going to say where it is, but I think you'll be very happy. You'll be hearing it very, very soon.
I will say, Riley, I understand that you are in drought for news for this game, but there's a Bandai Namco game that I have been waiting for that has gone through a longer drought than
I know where this is going.
yours.
Go on.
Digimon Survive needs to be re-announced and released this year. It's been delayed multiple times, and that game looks phenomenal. It looks amazing. It looks incredible, and I want that game so bad. So Bandai Namco better show it this year. It better be coming out 2021. I don't know if you guys have seen anything of it, but it's essentially it's Fire Emblem set in the Digimon world with the same art style as Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and then there's also like an incredibly like Toy Story 3 level story being written where like your actions are gonna like directly cause um like dire consequences in the digital world, and like the characters, and like yeah, it looks incredible. It honestly looks like amazing. It's gonna be incredible, and I am very excited for this game.
If no one else has anything to add to Bandai Namco, we'll do the final like smaller company, and then we'll end off with the what I assume will have the largest one that we're going to talk about. And the last smaller company is going to be Warner Bros. Interactive, who is slated to have an event sometime on the Sunday as well, June 13th. And now Warner Bros. Interactive. The thing is with them, or Warner Bros. Game Studios, honestly forgot what they call themselves, but anyways,
WB Games.
they're obviously I think they're the ones publishing Back for Blood, which is like that spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. So I think we'll see that for sure in their event. And because that game was, I think, announced at the Game Awards. So I feel like, it's a few months have passed, and that game could come out sooner rather than later. But the main games I feel like we're probably all thinking about right now, not to diminish Back for Blood, are the DC games that they were announced at DC Fandom last year, which are Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League and Gotham Knights.
Oh, sorry, Matteo. I do want to plug the podcast we did about this one, just because I think that was like what episode? Which episode was where we talked about those announcements?
The DC games, I think, was episode 3. So I will put that in a card in the top right corner of the screen right now.
Yeah, check that video out.
But yeah, and then there's another hypothetical DC game we'll talk about after the ones that have been announced, or not DC game, a Warner Bros. Made game, because we don't know if it will be a DC game. I'm hoping it will be, but anyways, Gotham Knights, I feel like will probably be here first and foremost, more than Suicide Squad. But the thing that confused me is that like Warner Bros. Is having this event, but DC Fandom got announced for October, and like I don't know, like are they gonna really like which show are they gonna like reveal their hand in? Because they could give us like a huge update to Gotham Knights now, and then maybe like have a minor thing where they show like a different playable character or something in DC Fandom. Like they give like a extra like even finer look at something, or they do that. They just don't show Gotham Knights or any DC game here and just push those in Fandom, because like Warner Bros. Also has like there's the Mad Max IP. They have Traveler's Tales, so like they'll probably show the Harry Potter game. They'll probably show the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which like that game. I'm surprised how long they're taking to develop that game, in all honesty, because like normally Lego games are cranked out like every year. So this one's having a abnormally long development cycle, which honestly isn't a bad thing.
The Lego games are honestly great.
Well, it's because they need to include all the Jedi and all the Sith.
Ah, yes, those two characters that everyone loves.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about the DC games?
I think Suicide Squad will not be there. I think that Gotham Knights will. I think they'll just show another trailer of Gotham Knights. They'll maybe even announce its release window, which I think will be early next year. And then they'll show off another trailer for Gotham Knights at DC Fandom. And then I think Suicide Squad won't be shown till DC Fandom.
Because that game is still next year, right?
That being said, I do think there will be some superheroes there. From Warner Bros. Interactive.
Yeah, and like this is the hypothetical like rumored game here. Here's another in the top right of the corner. Here's another card to a link to our, I think it was episode 14, where we did what the heck is NetherRealm Studios doing? So like I said, not to like rehash our entire episode, but like once again, I really hope it's Injustice 3, but I've kind of like I've come to terms with the fact that like Marvel unfortunately is dominating DC in movies, and now they're gonna take our games too now. So
It's a Marvel fighting game. The X-Men versus Avengers
X-Men versus
fighting game. I want to
Avengers.
see it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna end. I wanna cut this one here. If you're really interested in hearing what like our full thoughts on this topic, do click on the link and give that episode a listen, because we do go into detail about what we expect or what we hope
Yeah.
this next NetherRealm
Mhm.
Studios game will be.
Then there's one other thing I think we have to mention before we go into the last one, Matteo, which is, are we gonna see any Kojima at this? Think you're gonna see Kojima? Think we're gonna see
I
some Death
think
Stranding too? Some
I
weird
I
robot
think
baby
Kojima,
things?
like Gino said in the Microsoft predictions, I think Kojima could appear in the Microsoft conference. If not, he's gonna just chill with his best friend Jeff Keighley and reveal his project in the summer games, his summer game show. Those would be the two places I think Kojima would appear. Now we will get into the final third party that we will be talking about today, and the one that I have the most stuff written down on. So, and that is Ubisoft. Ubisoft's conference is actually going to be kicking off the formal E3 festivities this year. The Ubisoft Forward is going to be on Saturday, June 12th at noon, 12 o'clock noon Pacific. We probably will be doing a live, at least I will be on for a live stream for that, because there's actually a few games that I'm really interested about seeing and I think will actually be announced. First of all, we didn't really talk about it in our Nintendo predictions, but Mario and Rabbids Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle was shown in E3 E3 2017, actually debuted in the Ubisoft conference, not the Nintendo Direct. So I think we will get a sequel to Mario and Rabbids announced and actually released. I think it'll come out this year. That game
That would be really
was
cool.
such a surprise, because that game had so much negativity, and like people were complaining about it and saying, oh, how dumb the idea is, and then the game came out and it proved everyone wrong. Like Davide Soliani, the director of that game, like he put his heart and soul into that, and he mentioned in interviews and stuff like how crushing that was, hearing all these people complain about their game and no one's seen it or played it. And then when the game was debuted and Miyamoto was praising this game, like there was actually, like I saw I rewatched that announcement recently, and like the camera panned to him in the audience, and he was like crying. He was so happy, and like it was, he was so moved by the fact that like his idol was praising his game, and like that game deserves every single piece of credit and praise that it's received. It is honestly a fantastic game. Even, and the Donkey Kong DLC too.
No,
So,
I'm gonna.
yep.
Can I throw something out there? Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle sequel, but it's not Mario and Rabbids. It's Zelda and Rabbids for
Oh
Zelda's
my
35th
god!
anniversary.
Yes.
They don't just continue with Mario; they start doing other Nintendo properties.
I'd be all in. I'd be all for that, honestly. Like, as long as they're making games, I will buy them, because Mario and Rabbids was that good. Even if it's just Rabbids, in all honesty, like I would probably buy that.
Rabbids just dressing up
Yeah,
as Zelda
but
characters.
Hey, it's the 35th
yeah,
anniversary of
and then
Zelda. It could happen. That very well could
but
happen. And you think Grant Kirkhope would be back for the score?
I hope so. Grant, that's what I wanted to say last little bit there.
And they can. No, it would be awesome if they did it. They could bring back the Toon aesthetic for that. Like they
Mhm.
could have it be like Toon Link and Toon
Mhm.
Zelda and Toon Ganon
Yeah.
and stuff.
Anything, if it means me being able to listen to another Grant Kirkhope score, by all means. I asked Grant Kirkhope at PAX 2015. I got my Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie autographed by him, and I asked him. I said, if you could score any video game series, what would it be? And he said Mario. And a little piece of me thought at that time, maybe that was like 2015. Maybe he had started his compositions for Mario and Rabbids, because the game came out 2 years later. Maybe he knew that, and he was giving me a little piece of news that I never talked about to anybody. That's like the weird like scenario I put through my head, like Gino in the claw shot. But
Yep.
but
Can I
yep.
share a Ubisoft prediction? Well, it's not really a prediction so much as a most likely is happening at some point, but um, like obviously Assassin's Creed will probably show up. And the rumor is that the next game will be returning to its roots and will be set during the Third Crusade. So I'd like to see that game announced, maybe not shown off, but just announced, maybe with a cinematic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's coming this year. I do think that game will come next year. I think that we're at the point, like Assassin's Creed goes in phases, right? Like they usually like build an engine and then build a bunch of games within that engine, and then the next set of games uses a new engine, and we've seen that happen a few times. So we had like um, during the 360 era, you had like everything that was built off the Assassin's Creed 2 engine, which was kind of the engine till Assassin's Creed 3, and then Assassin's Creed 3, 3's engine having for quite a few games, and then you had Unity's engine, and then you just had Origin's engine. So I think we're at the natural point where this next game is going to be a new engine. So we're going to have a couple years between the games so they can build that engine. Um, and especially because we're on new hardware now. But I'd like to see that. I also think because Ubisoft is like, even though they're at E3, they're also kind of doing their own thing, right? Like it's their own kind of like digital stream, which is part of both the summer games um and E3. I could see them even touching upon not just the games, but the whole multimedia franchise of Assassin's Creed. Like I could see them touching upon the Netflix shows and like being like the next arc of Assassin's Creed is going to tie directly into like these shows that are going to be popping up and like approaching
Yeah,
that.
like Assassin's Creed
Um,
is like the
so
thing I'm most looking forward to because like my fandom for the Assassin's Creed series has like it's varied throughout the years. Like I hopped in, like you introduced us to the series, Jules, like with Assassin's Creed 2. And I've played every single game. I've played every game in the series except for Assassin's Creed 1, which I will probably never play. But um like basically after the Ezio games, like I wasn't the biggest fan of Assassin's Creed 3, but I absolutely loved Assassin's Creed 4. But basically between 4 and Origins, with the exception of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I did like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I basically like zoned out when I played those games. I did not enjoy them nearly as much as I wanted to. But since Assassin's Creed Origins, which could now be my favorite game in the series, I really enjoyed Odyssey for all its flaws. I just beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla a few months ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and I'm so excited for the direction that the series is taking, hopefully, in the present day storyline. It's so interesting what they could be doing. And especially now if they go take the past storyline back to around the same era as the original Assassin's Creed. That's really exciting for me. And I just like especially now like because they're definitely like they used to do like a game every year for the longest time and then they started taking years off. And I think that extra year that they take off between releases, it really helps the games uh on a from like a polished standpoint because a lot of those games that came out on the Xbox One PS4 era were famously very buggy and glitchy and Ubisoft really needed that extra time to make the game right. And even though Assassin's Creed Valhalla in the newest trilogy had bugs, I was willing to give him a bit of a slide on that because it was a transitionary game, and I did play it on next gen hardware. But if the next game's like that, then there's going to be a lot of I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about Ubisoft. For them, they've earned my respect. The series has earned my respect again, which is the main thing I wanted to say. And I'm really looking forward to the Assassin's Creed, whatever is announced.
I'm quite excited to see where Assassin's Creed is going to go. Also, especially with the return to like the Middle East, back and especially during the Crusader eras and stuff, just because like I find that's like just a really interesting time period. and that's something that always helps too, right?
I think you would really like Valhalla. Like, I honestly would recommend Assassin's Creed Valhalla to anyone who's interested in it. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I want to go back to it, but I want to finish Odyssey, but I just cannot play Odyssey because the game does not respect the player's time because they want you to buy all of those microtransactions and the time savers. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's Odyssey's very grindy in parts,
Yeah.
but the one thing I really noticed when I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla is that at no point was I underleveled. The only time I had to grind in the game was post game, and I completely understand that.
Yeah. And I hope that they take. I hope that they take
Yeah.
that kind of like grindy bit and all that stuff out of any new games because that's honestly like that's where I am with the series, and I hope that these new ones don't have that.
How about the Star Wars, the open world Star Wars game? Do you think it's going to pop up?
I want to say no, to be honest with you. I just don't think we've had enough time. Ubisoft's had enough time to like. I don't think they'll have anything to show. To be honest with you, like it's too soon. I feel.
Maybe a trailer or a teaser.
Not even like a concept, not even like proof
Yeah,
of concept, like a trailer,
Star Wars
you know,
games. The thing is with
cinematic.
Star Wars games, like
Maybe
look at Battlefront.
maybe
Like
we'll
when
get a
the
logo.
original like the Battlefront reboot came out, they had absolutely nothing to show, but they still showed concept art. So like I feel if anything, they'll do like the type of thing where like there's a developer interview and then there's like a blurry picture of like concept art behind them and they just explain what they're going to want to do with the game. I think that is what I would expect.
Yeah.
But something I do think will be
Okay.
there. We talked about like re-reveals earlier in the show, but I feel like Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake is going to be re-revealed in this Ubisoft Forward.
I thought you were going to
What do you
say
think?
something else,
What do you think I was going to say?
but I thought you were going
Oh,
to say Skull and Bones. I was going to be
I'll
like, sorry,
talk about
Matteo,
that
that
a
game
little
ain't
later,
coming.
just as a joke. But Prince of Persia: Sands of Time is the only Prince of Persia game that I've played, and Gino and I really love that game. We played it on GameCube. Adriano actually introduced us to to that game. It's fantastic. And you know, when they announced the remake, I was really excited, but like it's like with Halo Infinite, like I didn't find the game looked that bad. I know and people had problems with the art style and the motion capture and stuff like that. I didn't have an issue with that, honestly. Like I really enjoyed this game, and you know, it's kind of true to the art style isn't hyper realistic, and it's still very true to the era, like when it came out, like in 2002 or 2003, whenever Sands of Time originally came out. It's just, you know, and that game wasn't going to be a full priced game either, which I understood was probably like contributed to a lot of the issues people had with it. And Ubisoft decided to delay it, and then they delayed it again, but they didn't assign a new release date this time. It was just delayed indefinitely. So I feel like now it's been a fair amount of time since the initial delay, because this game was supposed to come out in January at first. Uh, you know, 6 months or so have passed. I feel like that's probably an acceptable amount of time to just show us some things they've improved. And I'm really looking forward to that. Like Prince of Persia was a very big series for Ubisoft for a very long time, and Assassin's Creed kind of took its place because like Assassin's Creed was actually I think originally planned to be a Prince of Persia spin-off, but Assassin's Creed's kind of taken the limelight from Prince of Persia
That would
because
have been cool.
that Prince of Persia and Rayman were like the temple and like and uh Splinter Cell were Tom Clancy or not Tom Clancy. So Prince of Persia, Rayman, and Splinter Cell were like Ubisoft's tentpole franchises for a long time, and they're kind of like not like they're not even hardly acknowledged by the company anymore because other things have taken their place.
I mean,
But
Splinter Cell's like recently been acknowledged via
yeah,
Rainbow Six Siege in that they made
yeah,
Sam
like it's
Fisher
like
a playable character.
but it's not like the OG Splinter Cell that like a lot of people really want Ubisoft to go back to, but they just won't. And then with like Rayman, Ubisoft, yeah, they made Rayman Origins, Rayman Legends, but they're still doing stuff with the Rabbids, and the Rabbids have kind of like replaced Rayman, right?
I have a prediction. One of our dear friends, if he's listening, will be happy that I made this prediction. But I'm gonna go on a limb and say they're gonna announce For Honor 2.
Hey, Yako's favorite game.
That game has a decent following, and it's like I could see it getting a full blown
But
sequel.
I see the problem with it is though I think it's sort of the same thing that with Siege, where they're not going to do a sequel because they just use it as a platform for
Yeah,
continuing to add content. They might do like a
But
standalone single player expansion as a sequel to the story, but I can't see them
I
doing a full on new game.
well, the reason I'm thinking a new game is because we're now transitioning into next gen, so I could see them using that as an excuse to like create a new version, like not necessarily that it's going to be For Honor 2, but it's going to be the like kind of like what they're talking about, like Blizzard's doing with Overwatch 2, where it's like the same game but it's like overhauled to the point where like it's the new version of it. So like it will shift it a little. And I feel like For Honor, the difference between For Honor and Siege is that Siege is fairly well received, whereas For Honor, I feel like while it has its following, like it could use some rebranding and a refresher. And I think announcing like a sequel level kind of like change to it for the next gen systems could be something to bring people back in.
the biggest thing I think that they
You
could
know,
do is just like add another like class of like fighter.
They added a faction
Yeah,
based on Chinese
I
stuff.
think that they could go.
They need barbarians.
Yeah, that's what I was honestly thinking. I feel barbarians could be too close to Vikings,
Are you talking
Mm.
like Gallic barbarians, like during the Roman
or
times,
Yeah,
like Celts, or
or Franks.
they could add like even like Spartans would be cool, or gladiators or something like that.
they already have a gladiator class
Shows how much I know about
or
For Honor.
like
I played that
fighter
game
base, whatever they do.
twice, and Yako really wanted me to get into it. I'm just like, I can't do it. It just doesn't do anything for me. But you know what does do something for me?
Siege.
I'll let you talk about Siege a little later if you want. But I was going to talk about South Park games.
Okay.
I love, I
Oh
love.
I
yes.
can't see. I can't
I
see
might
it.
be a little. It still might be a little too early, but like I feel like they have to do another one. Both games are fantastic. Like,
I don't know. Like I agree with you. I just those games. It's not about Ubisoft. It's completely
yeah,
about Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and they were very clear after Stick of Truth, like this is the only one we're doing. And then they did make a sequel, but it was because they were like we had a lot of ideas for Stick of Truth, and we decided to like make another one because we did
but this
want
is
to
the
just
thing
like
though.
get all those
This,
ideas out. I just
but Jewel,
can't
this is the
envision them
reason
doing
why
another one.
I agree with you. But this is the reason why I kind of like changed my tune about it. It's because there was no new season of South Park this year. We had just two like 1 hour special, like not even 1 hour special episodes, and like maybe they had an idea or something and for a game, and like those games, like they animate the games and stuff still with the South Park, like the TV show engine and stuff like that. So like it, once they get their idea and their combat system or whatever solved, it's pretty it's pretty straightforward from that point onwards. And I really think they'd be able to crank a game out relatively quickly after an announcement. So like I th- I'm willing to I think I'm willing to say like it's not I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's borderline between like a dream sort of announcement I would want and something I could really see happening.
The last I'll say about it is the only other reason I wouldn't want it to happen is because the first game was such a celebration of the whole series, and they packed in so much from the whole series in that. And then the second game was like, okay, everything they didn't touch on, plus all the new stuff since then, they packed into that game. I just can't see a third game having the same appeal because what are they going to do? Like they've already like encompassed the entire series through those two games. It's like they don't have
Well,
enough callbacks now unless they're just going to reuse
what
similar things, right?
They didn't do Imagination Land.
That that's probably
what they
licensing.
could do is add a little integrity. I think that's what they could do. Give
Oh
it some
yeah.
integrity. Yeah.
Just add a little integrity.
A lot has changed in South Park, honestly. Like the status quo of the show has changed a lot in the last 2 seasons. Like since Fractured But Whole.
Yeah.
And and it'll probably be another years if the game gets announced this year, it'll be another year before it comes out probably. So that'll be like basically 3 seasons worth of material that they could add into the show, into the game. So, but Riley, did you actually want to talk about
Anyway,
Siege or
yeah.
any Tom Clancy game?
Well, I think it was just maybe yesterday they announced that Quarantine is having its title officially changed
Yeah.
to
Oh,
Extraction.
really? Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's probably for the best.
And I'm hoping we'll
Mm.
see more of that. I mean, that's really the only thing that maybe some more stuff about Siege they'll show, like maybe a new character. But I don't know when I being honest, I haven't played
Mhm.
for the last couple seasons,
And just
but I'm not sure when the new season will line up with. Like maybe they'll show off a new character
yeah,
for Siege, but
um,
they usually often just do
I
like that.
have like I wanted to just there's 2 games I wanted to talk about later, like at the end of the Ubisoft prediction, and one of them was Skull and Bones. But uh, just quickly, I think there was a Far Cry 6, like something to do with Far Cry 6. I don't know if it happened already or it's going to happen soon, but regardless, Far Cry 6 probably will be there because that was like the big game they announced
Yeah.
during their Ubisoft Forward earlier in the year or late last year. But I kind of, like I said earlier, like with Rayman, I really want them to make another 2D Rayman game, but I don't know.
Maybe that'll come
It's
to mobile.
I don't know at this point.
They did mention that they want to do a lot more mobile
yeah,
stuff
well,
and free to play.
Ubisoft and Ubisoft is borderline like EA Activision level with microtransactions sometimes, and like I see why they would do that, but anyways, Skull and Bones, just quickly, that game was shown off, I want to say like 5 years ago. It was like it's a pirate ship like battle simulation game, and I just remember at the time when that game was announced, people were like, the ship combat's the thing people like the least about like the Assassin's Creed era or the Assassin's Creed games of that time. And now they're making a whole game about it. I hot take, I think that game a lot of people are hopeful that game is gonna be like re-revealed. I think that game is done. It's canceled. They're not even gonna talk about it. Like it's just they swept it under the rug. You'll never hear about it again.
It's dead in the water. Hey.
I don't know if you guys feel differently about that, but
What a shame.
the last game, if no one else wants to add anything to Ubisoft, is just a simple yes or no, like we had with our Nintendo podcast. Will Beyond Good and Evil 2 be shown? Because I think it's been 2 years since we had the last uh like the re-reveal of that game, and you know it to me it's kind of like a Bethesda type deal when it was announced. Like it was announced knowing dang well that that was going to be shown, and then like, that game wasn't going to come out in that generation. It was going to be a next generation title. Now that we're in the next generation of games, I think it wouldn't be unfair to assume that game could be shown off this year. Probably coming, like not coming out this year, obviously. Once again, like we say that all the time with a lot of these games, but maybe next year or the year after. Like I think it's about time. It feels right. I actually have to I really want to play Beyond Good and Evil 1. I have it on Xbox. I have like the 360 port of it. I got it through Games with Gold a while back, and always been like it's been recommended to me by a lot of people. It's just something I've never really had the chance and the time to play because like there's just always something to play. But if that game gets shown this year, that might be I might have to raise it out of my backlog. It'll be I'll prioritize it probably. But
Absolutely.
does anyone have anything to add about Beyond Good and
Yeah.
Evil 2 or Ubisoft
I-
before we close out?
I think that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think that's
done.
it. I'm
Well,
satisfied.
then if that's the case, thank you all for listening to our final E3 predictions video. Uh, If you like what you've heard, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. We offer the podcast also on Spotify, so if you're out on the go, you could have a little hub world when you're out and about on Spotify. So just one other reminder, we will be live streaming our reactions with E3 starting on Saturday with Ubisoft, and we will do all the other major conferences. And we'll also be providing breakdowns for some of the conferences as well. So be aware we're doing that. Keep us in your feed. Hit the notification bell to know when we upload, and also we will be providing a E3 reaction episode or E3. Actually, you know what? I think we should title it like E3 Awards or something like that. Like that will be our recap
just a
awards
recap.
or something like that.
E3 recap.
But
Yeah, well,
I
that'll
like
be
that
our first
idea.
episode back. I
Regardless,
think.
but anyways, everyone, thanks for listening once again. If you're a Gino fan, just neglect everything I said before that because we don't like Gino around these parts. No offense, Gino,
Hey.
but
Hey, I know that you're not talking about me. You're talking about that irrelevant puppet.
but anyways, guys, once again, thanks for listening. See you next time. Ubisoft on Saturday.